Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And tonight's Lucha Underground, thematically speaking, was all about Gift of the Gods. We had 4 Aztec medallion matches with 3 new recipients of Aztec medallions, and if that math doesn't seem to add up to you, don't worry, we'll explain that soon. And not only was this show about Gift of the Gods, not only was it about the allocation of Aztec medallions, we got a bombshell dropped on us at the start of the show, which we'll unpack here in the next few minutes. But before that, brother, what did you think of this episode?
Man, this was amazing. I loved that we got 4 matches tonight, even if one of them was just a little, like, almost a borderline comedy match that really just kind of was meant to progress a story that one of the participants in the match wasn't really even involved in, regarding the Aztec medallion that was, let's just say, changed hands in the proceedings of that match, right?
Yes.
So I love, and you pointed out, I love that this entire show is really focused on the medallions, but it makes me wonder, because last season, the show that was really heavily focused on the medallions, I feel like happened, like, not even, like, I would say less than 8 episodes before the end of the season. And this, we know, is at least, well, not at least, this is 11 episodes before the final episode of the season. So,
Right.
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess, I'm trying to remember what the episode was that had all the medallions on the line last year. Because I know that there was one episode that had like 3 or 4 medallions handed out in one episode.
Right.
And yeah, that was, you know what? I believe it was episode 36 that it was. Because in episode 36, we had Bengala and Daivari, and then Superfly versus Sexy Star, both for medallions. And Sexy Star then had to defend her medallion against Marty the Moth in the same episode. So that was literally, I think, 3 episodes before the final, because the final episode last season was episode 39. So the fact that the medallions are getting handed out so quickly this season makes me wonder if there's either going to be a 7-way Gift of the Gods match before Ultima Lucha, and then whoever wins that match cashes in the Gift of the Gods at Ultima Lucha, or B, if we're just going to get 2 Gift of the Gods 7-way matches this season, one of which would be in the next couple weeks, the other of which would be at Ultima Lucha.
In regards to the latter option, I mean, I know that's been something you've been pushing for. Hell, I think ever since we did Lucha Underground Luchador Spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, that's been an idea that you've really been putting forward. So if it happens, 1, you'll be incredibly validated because you've really been putting that forward. And 2, very interesting dynamic then with 2 Gift of the Gods matches in the same season. As far as the former option, where it's a cash-in at Ultima Lucha, given, because how many Gift of the Gods participants do we have right now? Is it 6?
We're up to 6 out of 7, yeah. We only have 1 left, and last season, Cueto wanted to determine the final Gift of the Gods, or the final Aztec medallion holder with a battle royal, so we might get something like that, too.
And given who you and I speculated it might be, you know, during live reactions, which you guys can check that out.
Yeah.
Very interesting, and I could see it. So, dude, I can tell in certain segments anyway, this is going to be an episode where there's quite a bit for us to unpack. Yeah. So let us just get right into our Lucha Underground review. And we open this baby up. I mean, first we get a recap, and what I love about the Lucha Underground recaps, they always highlight the stories that are going to be the focus of tonight's episode.
Yep.
And so we do that, but then we go right into Dario Cueto's office. He's repairing the roof, I guess just finishing up the repairs after Matanza and Mil Muertes destroyed it. What was it, a week prior? No, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So yeah, those repairs don't come easy. And Catrina ends up stepping in, and we get a little bit of a debate here between the two, Ashton.
Yeah, they're basically having like a playground style argument over whose big brother is stronger.
Exactly. I mean, you're really not wrong, because you have Catrina saying, "Well, Mil Muertes, he put Matanza down," and Cueto's like, "You're joking. Mil is impressive, yes, but Matanza fears no one and just really fears nothing." And then there's a resolution, because Catrina feels like, because Cueto is a dirtbag, that Mil is going to be screwed out of his rematch. And Cueto assures her, even with like a smile, like this really confident, pompous smile, "No, Catrina, I'm not going to screw Mil out of his rematch.
I don't need to.
I don't need to." Again, that brimming with confidence. Mil's going to get his rematch. In fact, to show you how confident I am and how much I believe in my monster, it's even going to be in Mil's signature match, Grave Consequences. That's right. We find out that a match, already, Mil Muertes versus Matanza without a stipulation could have headlined an Ultima Lucha. And now, this, I feel like, almost doubles, if not quadruples that fact. Grave Consequences between Matanza and Mil Muertes.
Well, I think if it would have just been Grave Consequences, it would have been doubled. But knowing that it's Graver Consequences, there's the quadrupling that you're looking for.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And Catrina said, "Well, you're braver than I thought." And really, it just comes down to, we're going to find out which monster really is superior for the Lucha Underground title. And Ashton, from this segment out of the gate, I just have so many questions. The most pertinent of which, at least in my mind, maybe you disagree, is how do you even determine a winner when you look at these two guys? Because Mil, to me, maybe Mil can get stronger, but right now in this moment, I think we're supposed to conceive of Mil as the strongest he can possibly be in this moment in time.
Yep.
Matanza, we've even kind of made it a running joke here on TWitWoW, is a literal god. Like, he's a god inhabiting a human vessel to carry out, the will of his brother Dario Cueto and whatever else he's got on his mind, which is violence. So you got that. So when you've got two titanic forces colliding like that, each having a source of credibility that's very legitimate and very strong, and given the nature of this match type, how do you even determine who goes over? Like, how do you determine who the world champion is? Because 2 weeks ago, they didn't give us that option because they both went through a building and the match, more or less got thrown out.
Emphasize it harder, John.
Well, yeah, right? It's like, it is what it is. And then you've got this match where you've got to get one of these behemoths in a casket. We know Mil can be, because he lost to Phoenix in the first Grave Consequences. Matanza, again, I certainly can fit in a casket. That's not the issue. But, I could just picture if Matanza had the lid closed on him, either it's not going to happen because he punched
I want one of them to punch through the lid while they're in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking Matanza would do. That seems more like a Matanza thing than a Mil thing, and I could see him do it. So
we've already seen Mil get lost in there, and he didn't fight out.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, just one scenario. I'm not saying this is the scenario. I'm not making any predictions. I want to really emphasize that. I don't want anybody to hold me to anything. But say Mil Muertes would win. I feel like the moment he closes that lid on Matanza and is sanctioned the winner, you're immediately going to see a hole in the casket because Matanza punched a hole through it. He gets out and the brawl resumes. I just don't see the violence between these two stopping simply because one's in a casket. And the even bigger question in my mind is, do you even want to see one of these people in a casket? Because we already know what Catrina can do with Mil. Maybe it would power him up even more long term. And with Matanza, what implications does it have if you seal a god away in a casket? Does that have any kind of symbolic repercussions?
Ooh, he's already sealed away in a mortal body.
And then a mortal body decays and experiences death. What happens to the god that's inhabiting it?
Oh, dude, you're making such good points.
Right, though? I just feel like regardless of who loses, we know what happens when Mil loses a match like this because he's the living embodiment of death. It's almost like a power boost. It's like when a Super Saiyan, or really just a Saiyan in general, is near death. For all you nerds out there, how you doing? But then...
how you doing?
with Matanza, that's where it really gets fascinating, right? Because, again, we know it's a god using an empty human vessel, but human vessels are susceptible to all the things that, well, mortal humans are, and that includes, death. So what happens when that gets locked away? Does it become an even greater power because it's now formless and boundless with all the rage of this, of a god? So I mean, what are you thinking, man?
I know you're making a lot of great points. It's crazy to think that by killing Matanza, you're really just killing that shell, and that might allow for the god inhabiting the shell to become even more powerful.
Now, tell me, saying that sentence, even if you're squeezing it tight, because I know I am, like, it doesn't just make you want to shit a brick for that temple, because I'm just thinking, how does anyone live after that?
Well, and the thing is, like, we've already seen what happens to Mill. He comes back even stronger, too.
And that's just it, dude. Like,
So Cueto has set up a scenario where the loser might not walk away with the championship, but they'll come back even stronger as basically a winner.
Exactly. It's
Oh
just
my god.
nuts to me.
Dude, I feel like, and I'm just going to say this right now, I feel like if Matanza does lose this match, which I highly doubt, I think it's probably going to end up being Matanza that wins. But if Matanza would lose this match, dude, the skull that they would have to add to his mask would be amazing.
Yeah, dude. Oh my
to show that his humanity is gone and that the human side of him is dead.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. To me, it's just now dawned on me because you gotta understand, guys, I'm sure a lot of you listening do understand this. When we do live reactions, that's pure fandom mode. So when I first heard this and I first heard this, we're, again, Cueto violence! You know, I'm just thinking, like, yes, they're gonna kill each other, it's gonna be awesome, blood, guts, and buildings and everything.
And buildings, because they put each other through one.
Exactly. And I mean, buildings are people too. You know, they're victims too in that temple. But then when you really sit down and you think about it thoughtfully, there are really serious repercussions here. It's not just about a world title, because with Lucha Underground, it's never just about just one material possession. And I think that was another kind of thing here. I mean, yeah, it's about the Lucha Underground Championship, certainly, but it's also a pride issue, and it's just two entities that you don't even really know how to articulate what exactly they are to the best of your ability, and now they're colliding. I mean, you look at the main event. That was a very personal vendetta. Again, you know, we'll get to that later. It's never just one thing with Lucha Underground, ever. So, to me, whoever loses, are we just talking about the loser of the match? Or are we potentially talking about the temple as a whole? Because quite honestly, I can't tell the difference. Because either Mil Muertes comes back even stronger again, because you can't keep death down, or what the hell happens to Matanza, which is an even more intriguing question.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we know that whoever gets put in that casket dies. So
right.
We know Conan is dead. We know that Mil, really specifically Pascual Mendoza, died. So you would have to think that Matanza Cueto would die, and then whatever the god is that's embiggening his body would then kind of take full control, or even more control than it had before, which is just scary to think about.
And then let's, because you know, you and I, we've done Lucha Underground reviews long enough now. You know, we like to go off the rails and just think about just the craziest narrative possibilities here. If that were to happen to Matanza, right, and again, it's a mortal body, death, and we already kind of had the discussion, we touched on it. If you're Dario Cueto, I mean, what do? Do you have to rummage through the Cueto family history and read up on your father's exploits that really started this whole thing to begin with? Maybe Cueto's father would have the key for fixing that whole mess, because he sealed the god in Matanza's body to begin with. He offered up his son to make this all happen, and then if a god, like, has free reign and maybe needs a new vessel, like, what happens then? What is Cueto going to do? Because he's lost his ace in the hole. And then really, does that key become meaningless if Matanza gets locked in there? You know, like, is it just a moot thing now? And that's why, like, I can't conceive of Matanza losing either, but I will say this. I think Matanza losing has very, very intriguing narrative possibilities when you just look at all the ramifications. So, I mean, is there anything else you want to say about this announcement, or anything you want to add, or you just want to wait it out till next week until we
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to next week's episode. It's going to be awesome.
I'm right there with you, brother. Let's move on.
Okay, up next, we had our first match of the night, which was the Mack versus Marty the Moth Martinez.
Yeah, you know, again, Marty does amazing character work consistently, even before the opening bell, because he always creeps on Melissa Santos, And I know you and I were saying in live reactions, Melissa Santos does a great job of not only rebuking those advances, but maintaining her air of professionalism and doing her job. Because, Melissa, you are amazing. So go you. And as far as the match goes, it was a fun outing. I mean, the Mack is just one of the most likable guys, I think, on the Lucha Underground roster, and he certainly has the wrestling chops to go with it. And this is a good back and forth between the guys. Marty did a really nice exploder suplex in the corner of the Mack at one point. Mack did a good sell job on that. But then the Mack really brought it towards the end because he hits Marty with one stunner. Marty's still on his feet because, he's been kind of even more of a freak than usual since his sister Mariposa has come into the picture. So knowing that didn't put him down, the Mack gets Marty in a fireman's carry, spins him around, and almost does like a stunner-style TKO to Marty the Moth, and that's what puts him away. So the Mack has his first ever Aztec medallion. I think that's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mack being in that match, I think, is making it a lot more interesting.
Certainly, I agree. Especially given the conclusion of the main event, which again we'll get to in a little bit. I'm just happy to see the Mack, see his stock get to this point, because you see, again, that just goes to show in Lucha Underground, you don't have to, it's not like WWE where you may have stock in a superstar, you may have hope for one, but you either may have to let it go very quickly, or maybe you get validated at a nice pace. Like, anybody can become a star at any given season. The Mack was already doing well enough in season 1, but, I mean, we know that his ending didn't exactly go too well because, Cage curb stomped him through a cinder block. And now he's looking at the chance to get the Gift of the Gods Championship, which could also translate into the Lucha Underground Championship. So it's really just great to see the Mack's progression through the kind of Lucha Underground hierarchy, so to speak. Yep. He's really moving on up in the world.
Yeah, so. He really is. I mean, you can even look at, I believe, wasn't he the guy that beat PJ Black in PJ Black's debut match?
You're right, Ashton. Great point. Great pickup there. So, yeah, that definitely shows you Mack standing in the temple, and I'm really happy for him, because I think I even said in Lucha Underground, it's not that like he's an underrated performer. I'm just glad to see that he's getting on more people's radar, I think, because he really is just very good. So, congratulations to him.
Yep. All right, so now let's move on. Up next, we had a backstage vignette cinematic with King Cuerno and Catrina, who tells him, you will not be the next Gift of the Gods champion, because I'm going to make sure that it is Siniestro de la Muerte that wins the medallion tonight.
Yes. And
Cuerno is just like, no, your disciple is my prey.
I love King Cuerno, man. So good. Yeah, just kept it really succinct. Great interaction. I like that it does touch on, the beef that these two have, because King Cuerno was, sent to carry out a task against Phoenix. He failed. Then he kind of bite the hand that fed him, that was looking, to protect him for her own best interest, of course. And then that soured. And yeah, we're kind of getting a resolution here tonight. Catrina really having a chance to stick it to King Cuerno.
Yeah, absolutely. This was super intense, because really anytime these two get around each other, it's just like this weird, like they used to work with each other, but now they kind of hate each other. And now, once we actually get into the match, which isn't next, so we can't talk about it right away, but once we actually get into the match, it felt like King Cuerno is a Técnico now, which is really cool to see. And I'm really looking forward to what he can do as a Técnico moving forward. But first, let's talk about this Dario Cueto's office segment, this cinematic with Sexy Star, where Cueto invites her in, insists, I know we've had our problems in the past, but I respect you, and I want you to be able to get your revenge on Mariposa. And he tells his story about his mom and how he and his brother felt like they were being held captive by what he saw as a psychotic woman in his mother. And once they stood up for themselves and said no mas, which, I mean, you and I know means his brother killed their mother, which, Sexy Star doesn't really know that, but, Cueto isn't one to let facts ruin a good story.
Minor details.
Yeah, exactly. So then he tells Sexy Star that she's going to be facing Mariposa tonight in a no mas match, where the only way to win is to make your opponent shout no mas. And he tells her that even if you get Mariposa to say no mas, don't stop. Because the only way that you're ever going to get that look out of your eyes is by putting that same fear into her.
I'm just going to reiterate what I said on my reaction. I freaking love this.
Yeah,
Like,
it's awesome.
I love, because here's the thing, right? It's not that it's such a deviation from the Cueto character, because he, again, what does he love? Violence. Yeah, I'm not going to do the voice this time. But he does love violence. He does love chaos and bloodshed. And he sees a wellspring of potential and possibility with that, with Sexy Star's emotional abuse and her psychological trauma that she endured at the hands of Marty and Mariposa. So he's going to capitalize on that. But the funny thing is, even though that's true to Cueto's nature, I did get a little bit of sense of humanity here, because he related like his own life to Sexy Star, and it almost seemed like he, in his own perverse way, mind you, not trying to make him out to be, a Puritan, but in his own perverse way, tried empowering her. It was just such a fascinating dynamic to me, given that last season he really didn't care for her. Not only that, actively opposed her presence in his temple, through the crew and through other obstacles. So I really enjoyed this, dude. What did you think of it?
It was awesome, dude. This was great. I love the intensity of the whole segment. And honestly, more importantly, I love that we got to see another shred of humanity from Cueto here.
It just, because here's the thing, right? And this is what I love about Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground, better than, to me in all wrestling, and really better than most television, has a nice understanding of nuance. It's not like Cueto is this caricature of, psychosis or evil or anything like that, where he's kind of twirling his mustache. I mean, he has no mustache, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Waiting for, the train to come on the tracks and hit the damsel.
Yeah.
There is a humanity there. And regarding how you look at it, you could either be hopeful that, well, maybe, Cueto could change, or you could even be, kind of like I am, even more mortified that there is a functioning level of humanity there, given how he chooses to expend it.
Yep.
And that's what I think is just so fucking good, man. Dario Cueto, to me, like him and Catrina, the non-wrestling characters are some of the most compelling characters this show has. And I feel like you've said that in the past, and now I'm saying it here. And it just still holds true. This was a really fun segment, and I just loved that you've got this pure Technico and Sexy Star being almost empowered by a guy that we know has a lot of shit. Okay?
Yeah.
And Dario Cueto.
Cueto has a long history of being a scumbag.
Yeah, and that's what makes it work, because I wouldn't even call it necessarily a power dynamic. Of course, Cueto's the authority figure, but he's not even exhibiting that authority to Sexy Star. He's like, look, you're in this match, and you're this and that, but it almost takes on, again, I don't want to say like a fatherly, because that's not the right word I'm grappling with, but like a guidance sort of thing. Like, this is how you deal with it. It's just really fascinating to me. I give a big thumbs up to this.
Yeah. Yeah, man, this was a great segment. I'm really glad that they went here, because it would have been really easy for them to just kind of maintain Cueto as this like comic book bad guy.
Right.
And this gave him a lot of much needed depth, I think.
Oh, completely agree with you, dude. 10,000%.
Up next, though, we had our second match of the night, Siniestro de la Muerte versus King Cuerno. And this match was a lot quicker than I'd like it to have been, but I think it established that Catrina is willing to stop at nothing to ensure that Siniestro does not fail. She is desperate for at least something good to come out of the Disciples of Death now that they've lost the trio's titles.
I'm going to ask you something, Ashton. Let's have it out a little bit with this match, because this is one of those rare instances where I wasn't really necessarily feeling it. Like, I get what they're doing. I just don't know if I necessarily agree with that direction, because the week prior, or no, I think, again, this is another 2-week thing. God, my concept of time is horrible. He tears out the hearts of his cohorts, Barrio Negro and Trace. And it's really cool imagery, and it's really awesome. The electric shock's running through them, and we think, okay, well, at least I thought. I shouldn't say we. I'll just keep it individuated. I'll say I really thought, yeah, more powerful Siniestro de la Muerte. And I like the attire and everything, and I'm getting pumped. And yet he still needs Catrina's help. Like, how did you feel about the idea of still needing Catrina's assistance? I wasn't entirely in love with it, to be honest. Like,
no,
I
do see where you're coming from for sure.
Right.
I don't know if he needed it, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, Cuerno was setting up for the arrow from the depths of hell. It's not like he was getting ready to use some kind of like a big finishing move on Siniestro. It's not like he had the match won and Catrina screwed him. Catrina was just ensuring that her investment had a return.
Which, you know what, to be fair to Lucha Underground, because again, you only see so much, and they've got so much more story in the back of their minds, maybe that will be a point of conflict, because that was a really early moment to interfere in a match. You know, when you nail a big move like that, and maybe Sinestro, I mean, he didn't seem to mind tonight because of what was at stake, and he does seem to be an underling, but here was a guy that struck Mil Muertes when Mil was giving him crap when they were still the Disciples. Here's a guy that has enough sentience and agency to turn on his own cohorts. How far does that go? Because I do believe he could be capable of turning on Catrina too. Not that he could do anything about it. Not saying that he could overpower her. That's quite a different claim to make. But he's exhibited enough agency where he can be defiant in certain circumstances. I wonder if he's even going to get sick of her lack of faith in him, because that's what it comes off as to me. When you interfere that prematurely in a match, boom, rock to the skull, that's saying, I need to ensure that I stay strong. I don't believe in you to maintain our strength.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
So
I do want to see Siniestro do something by himself, but to me, this was more about Catrina covering as many of her bases as she could than just Siniestro sucking. You know, because he didn't suck. He was taking it to Cuerno some of the time. I think Cuerno had a lot of that technical momentum and like that fire that he didn't have before too, and that helped him. But I don't know. I didn't really see that much of a problem with this because of the fact that it's more about Catrina anyway than anyone else. Because it's more about her just being so desperate to prove that the Disciples were a good idea and that they weren't a waste of time or money or any kind of other investment that she might have made in them. I don't know how many souls might have gone into creating the Disciples, but regardless, I think this was more about Catrina trying to prove that they weren't a waste of resources.
Yeah, you know what? You framing the discussion, you know, in that context certainly makes me kind of let up a little bit on this whole thing, because you're absolutely right. I would readily concede that ground to you, that this has been, I'd say from the word go, actually, Catrina's story, and everybody else is kind of playing a supporting role. Two other points of interest I just want to discuss as it relates to this match. One, because Sinestro went over and he got the Aztec medallion, be very interesting if he won this thing and he got the Gift of the Gods championship, but if Mil also succeeds in beating Matanza next week, you might have that power struggle, because again, I mean, Sinestro was the one guy to even try and strike Mil. So again, we know he has that agency, that we know he has at least a modicum of sentience, you know, in that regard. And the even bigger point in my mind, King Cuerno now being Technico, like we kind of touched on earlier. I think this opens up a lot of very interesting opportunities for the Cuerno character. What do you think?
I am really looking forward to watching what he does going forward. I think I already said that, but Technico Cuerno has a lot of potential to me.
I agree. And here's the thing, guys. I mean, if you guys remember, depending on how long you've been listening to our Lucha Underground reviews, first of all, welcome. And if you have been listening consistently, welcome back. But
there you go.
But you know that, you know, Ashton, really big on King Cuerno in Season 1, and that's carried over into Season 2. I really hopped on the train late Season 1, you know, into Season 2. I just think his in-ring work is so crisp and so exceptional. Probably one of the best workers, I mean, dare I say, in the business right now. I just think what he does in the ring is exceptional. And I agree. I think when you're that good in ring and you choose to, like, embrace the crowd and be the Technico and add those little Technico elements to your repertoire, I think the sky's the limit for him. I already thought he was primed to be Lucha Underground champion as a Rudo, as a Technico, especially with the quote-unquote prey that is running around with that title. You could tell some really fun stories with King Cuerno now.
You know what, though? The one big flaw that I do see in this is the fact that now he and Killshot are the same alignment yet again.
That is true.
There are already so many comparisons to be made between those two guys. I'd really appreciate it if they could stay on opposite sides of the fence. You know what I mean?
I do see your point, and especially, like, I think, well, they're not going to turn him back, Rudo, after already committing to this, but you maybe could be able to help if maybe you could kind of dive into why he's chosen to be good now. Like, is it just a Catrina thing? Maybe he'll go back to being Rudo. I doubt it, because it just doesn't seem like something Lucha Underground would do, but maybe it was a circumstantial thing. But if it is a more consistent thing, maybe kind of explore that a little bit. I love when Lucha Underground unpacks the psychology of their characters and just the environment as a whole, and they really explore it. Maybe King Cuerno could use some of that exploration, but He doesn't get the win here. And you have to wonder, too, another question, because Lucha Underground just ceaseless questions. Is his beef with Catrina over? Because she screwed him out of that medallion. I can't see him letting that slide. Maybe now even Catrina herself will become the prey of King Cuerno. You know, you never know.
That's a great question to ask. Yeah.
Hey,
Man, this is so good. I love this show.
Dude, it is. Like, King Cuerno may have come to a realization, wait a minute, I've been focused on the disciples. I've even was, trying to focus on Mill at one point. I haven't focused on the source, and Catrina really is the source. It's like, if I really want quality game, if I want a good hunt, I need to go for her. And that would be interesting, really interesting to see Catrina and King Cuerno kind of clash in that context. I'm not even saying in ring. I don't know how they do it. Maybe it would be purely narratively driven. But I don't think this is over. I just gut feeling.
Oh man. Well, I think we can move on. Up next, we had, I believe, a backstage segment with Mascarita Sagrada, and Famous B shows up. 4, 2, 3, get fame, and tells Mascarita that he's got him a match against an Aztec medallion holder, and that he's agreed to put the medallion on the line, and that's next. So he's excited about that.
Yes, he is. Mascarita Sagrada looking pumped, and again with the follow-up from Lucha Underground, because let's remember, it was a few weeks ago that Famous B did give Mascarita his card. I thought Mascarita was just going to disregard it, be like, man, this guy interrupted my gym time. But look at that follow-up, though. Just so cool how consistent Lucha Underground is, regardless of what the story is. Freaking love these guys, and this is a fun little cinematic.
All right. So up next, we had yet another cinematic. This time, however, we saw, I believe, wait, was it another cinematic?
It was.
Chavo,
it was Chavo.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Chavo demands a match for an Aztec medallion from Cueto, and Cueto's just like, no, I'm not really impressed. You've been losing a lot. You're kind of a failure. And Chavo's just like, you know what? I'm going to seize this opportunity. And, which opportunity he was referring to, we don't know, but we're going to find out.
Dude, again here, just a little bit to unpack. First of all, I think you even mentioned some live reactions. I just love the tonal shift in regards to relationships in the temple, because like you said, Cueto was really excited about Chavo in season 1, especially kind of relied on him to do some of the bidding, kidnap Black Lotus and whatnot. And now it's completely soured on him in season 2, to your point, because of his failures. 2, in kind of that same vein, I love that Lucha Underground acknowledges the failures of a given performer. That's really cool to me, because why should Chavo, who didn't have the most impressive record in season 1, get an opportunity at something as lucrative and prestigious as an Aztec medallion? That's a very legitimate point by Cueto. And then, of course, there's the ambiguity of Chavo's statement, I'm going to seize this opportunity. It's great stuff all around. Even the little things, I feel like Lucha Underground really capitalizes on. So I enjoyed this.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, Chavo has been really underplayed this season compared to last season, but when he has shown up, I've enjoyed him.
I have as well. It's funny because when he was in WWE, I was like, Chavo's all right. But I've really grown to appreciate him more in the context of Lucha Underground with how he's utilized within the temple. Whether it was in really big doses narratively speaking, and now they've kind of really restrained him, kind of pulled it back a bit with Chavo. And I think it's still effective when he is on screen. It's just great stuff.
Yeah, up next, though, we had our third match of the night. That being Cage versus Mascarita. And I'm so sorry, Mascarita, but this was bad.
Yeah, you know what? Dreams don't come true for poor Mascarita. And he even looked at Famous B like, what did you sign me up for?
Dude, his reaction when Melissa was like, from the 559, and just seeing Mascarita is like, it's funny because he has a mask on his entire face, but still it felt like he was making expressions, and his body language, I guess, is more what is telling. It was just hilarious. Like, he was freaking out, man. Dude, he was getting down on his knees and saying a prayer and everything. It was hilarious.
Doing push-ups, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He did push-ups too.
This was great comedy for Mascarita. Again, that just another thing about Lucha Underground. You know that I'll often bemoan WWE's attempts at comedy, but I feel like Lucha Underground consistently gets it, whether it's dark humor or just more explicitly like light stuff like what Mascarita did here. And can I just say as a quick side note, and I'm sorry that I keep pushing this point, but it's just so true. I freaking love Melissa Santos, man, because the face she makes when Famous B cuts her off to do the introduction of his client, Mascarita, accompanied by Brenda, she just makes this face like, you fucking serious? Like this is my time right now. I'm on the clock. You're really doing this? All right, fine. You have at it. And then she almost seems to take a kind of satisfaction when she announces Cage's name. Like, she's got this little smirk like, well, sorry, Mascarita. Famous B really screwed you over there, didn't he? I fucking love it, man.
Yeah,
so
she's
good.
such a pro, man. And I know that you like to always talk about how adorable she is and stuff, but just completely being objective and not taking any kind of appearance or anything like that into account, she's really freaking good at her job.
Oh my God, she's incredible. No, I mean, I love to have fun and stuff, but you're absolutely right. Like, she is so good. Really, not only the announcing, but just like everything. She even is able to like give off a presence and be a part of the show in a way that I don't think most announcers really can. She's got, what I think I'm trying to say is she has a personality to her work. And I think it's really welcomed because she really is just one of my favorite parts of the show, hearing her, announce, and whenever Marty gets involved and she's again rebuking those advances, and it's just a fun time. You can tell she's having fun. It makes me have fun. And just that look she shot Famous B tonight. Man, so good, man. And then you get to the match, which, I mean, what's there really to say? It happened exactly as anybody would expect it to. Cage mowed over Mascarita.
Mascarita got a little bit of offense in. He hit, he had a couple thigh kicks. He did a nice little, drop kick to the knee that made Cage meet turnbuckle, made his face meet turnbuckle. He had some stuff, but Cage, it's one of those things where once he got a hold of Mascarita, the match was over.
Yeah, he pretty much hit him. I mean, traditionally you'd call it like an F5. I'd call it like an F30 with the way that Mascarita just landed. I mean, that was high impact.
I mean, it was basically like, I'm just going to get you up on my shoulders and then spin you around like a helicopter.
Exactly. I'm telling you, man, ever since he's really made that transition to Technico, they have just really been building up Cage. It's almost like this unstoppable force. He's still one of my early favorites to win Gift of the Gods, and that's even taking into account what happened after the match, because Cage is checking on Mascarita. Famous B's coming in. He's almost looking at Cage like, man, you had to do him like that. You couldn't even make me look good for just a few minutes. And, really taking umbrage with him. And then Chavo sneaks in from behind, takes the medallion because, possession's 9/10 of the law. And he, scurries off with it. And then Famous B's just like, well, that just happened to you. And then Cage goes in pursuit. So it's funny because I almost feel like Cage has definitely taken a step down in terms of like program because he worked with Johnny Mundo. That was the big thing. And now he's working with Chavo. But Chavo's strength has always been narratively. He's not really the highest stock as an in-ring competitor.
Right.
But narratively, he's always had far more significance.
And another thing that he brings is name recognition.
Certainly. Which I think shows, again, the seriousness that the writers and just everything of Lucha Underground have in building Cage as probably one of the most legitimate technicos in the temple.
In the world.
in the world. I really do. I do see the world title in his future. I'm not going to put a season number to it. To me, I would just say imminent, because I could believe at any moment that strap going on him and him just having his run. The guy's a freak.
Yeah, I could see him winning Gift of the Gods for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Depending on who the seventh person is, because it always comes down to the final person, doesn't it? I may change my position, but I'm still firmly in the idea, yeah, Cage is winning it. And I think he'll successfully cash in just like Phoenix did. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We haven't even covered that territory yet. That's for another day. For now, Cage has to worry about retrieving that medallion first. So good luck to him, and more importantly, good luck, Chavo.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's move on. Up next was our main event of the evening.
Oh, man.
Sexy Star versus Mariposa in a no mas match. And oh my God, this was insanity.
Brother, you go first. Whatever your thoughts were, yeah, just let it out, man.
So, I didn't even hear it while we were watching the show, because obviously you and I do live reactions, and it's difficult to hear much of anything when we're not intentionally being quiet for promos or something like that. And apparently, at one point in this match, about how Mariposa had Sexy Star locked in that inverted clover leaf, right?
Right.
Well, when Marty Elias asked her if she wanted to quit, she said, "Fuck you!"
I love it, dude.
I can't believe we missed that. Dude, the F-bomb has been dropped on Lucha Underground Season 2 like 3 times now, I think.
That's amazing.
Because I know when Pentagon attacked Mill on his way to Aztec Warfare and Catrina freaked out on Vampiro, she told him to get the fuck out of here. I know that. I think we've had one other F-bomb drop that I just can't remember what the context was, and then this. Like, here's the thing. I don't have any particular stance on cursing on television, but the fact that Lucha Underground is able to get away with stuff like this without having, censors running at them and yelling at them, I think is awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, look.
And I mean, dude, this is like the third time now that we've had like a hardcore borderline death match in Lucha Underground that was like bloody like this, that was on network television,
Exactly. I mean, me personally, I've always taken a very liberal view in regards to language. I always believe it comes down to semantics more than anything. So them dropping F-bombs, I'm cool with it. I think it really adds to that emotion. And certainly, like, here's the thing, too. I never feel like it's just thrown around carelessly. You know what I mean? I always feel like it's situated in very appropriate context. If you look at Mariposa and Sexy Star, like, the hatred Sexy Star feels, not just towards Mariposa, but potentially even towards herself, because she wants to regain her strength and she feels so down and so discouraged. Like, yeah, just letting that out, that primal fuck you, it just gotta feel so good, just knowing, like, I'm fighting through the pain, I'm doing this. And this match was just insanity. I mean, Ashton, you made a really great point on live reactions when you said one of the strengths of this match, at one particular point anyway, was the imagery. Because at one point in this match, you have Mariposa taking Sexy Star by the hair and literally ascending while she's dragging her up the steps with the Believers. I mean, just amazing imagery there, given the struggles that Sexy Star has gone through. Mariposa having this kind of psychological dominion over Sexy Star. And then you and I are freaking out, especially me. I feel like I'm about to have a damn heart attack when they're climbing up the rafters. And they're going there and
they
like,
went into the freaking rafters. Oh my god.
Dude, this match did everything. You had Sexy Star, who had a really intense preoccupation with Mariposa's groin, because multiple groin shots throughout this match, the most painful of which was when she had a chair sandwich there. She took another chair and she knocked that chair into there. I mean, that, I would have been saying no mas after that. So kudos to Mariposa. And these two, they just fight and they kill each other everywhere.
Was so good. I feel like there were a lot of people that really were not buying into the Sexy Star character, and very similar to the Cobra Moon match from a few weeks ago. Now, obviously, this was a much stronger degree of what I'm talking about than the Cobra Moon match, but I think that she won a lot of people over here.
I agree. Here's my thing, right? And I don't mean to be caustic in my appraisal here. I think season one, and you know that I spoke very favorably of the Sexy Star character, so I haven't like switched camps by any means, but I could see where people were coming from, because maybe in parts it was a little too vanilla. Like, oh, she's this model and everything. No, this is what it means when you say that women can kick ass. Because Sexy Star bled, she got tortured, she got punched, she got pummeled, she got dragged by her hair up steps, she had to deal with a creeper in Marty the Moth, which, Mack thankfully was a neutralizing force. And when it came down to it, brass tacks, in the final moments, Sexy Star dug within herself in a non-cheesy way, and actually kind of a badass way, and pulls out the win with an armbar. And the even better part to me, what made me love it even more, she adhered to Cueto's advice. So we complete the circle. She didn't let go when the match was over.
You know what, though? You say she adhered to Cueto's advice, but here's the thing. She held the hold in for a little while, but she really didn't do anything over the top. Like, I was expecting, like, if she really wanted to do what Cueto was suggesting, she would have, like, pulled a pentagon and legitimately broken one of Mariposa's arms, but she just put her through a little bit more pain than was necessary. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she held it in for long enough, but I feel like she didn't hold it in so long that it was like her selling out to the dark side. So I think that they found a really good balance there.
Oh, I think they hit their sweet spot the moment when she shoved Marty Elias and she went back to the hole just for a few more seconds and then released.
I think that the shove was big, for sure.
And dude, like one of my, I know that I'm kind of like skipping all on this, because
and I know too, like the last time that we had a moment where Sexy Star really kind of rebelled against a referee was her feud, I believe, with Pentagon, wasn't it? Because she hit him with a low blow, and then the referee did something, and then she like shoved him aside or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right, dude.
Was that Pentagon or was that someone else? That might have been
Chavo. That was Chavo, which I know why you say Pentagon, because Pentagon was still associated with Chavo at the time. But I think what I really loved about this dude was it was
her versus Chavo. She grabbed a chair and started going ham on Chavo, and when the referee tried to stop her, she low blowed the ref. She kicked him in the balls.
Right.
And then Pentagon did come out, and but that was a different whole thing. But yeah. Like, this is the first time, and that was in episode 5 last season, so this is really the most passionate that we've seen Sexy Star since episode 5 of season 1.
And can I say, too, as somebody that I would legitimately claim to be a Sexy Star fan, again, I spoke very favorably of her in the first season, I liked watching her trajectory, and I've got to say, like, this was my favorite Sexy Star story to date because it was her story. And what I mean by that is she wasn't going on behalf of somebody else like we saw her do so often in season 1. Oh, Mascarita or oh, Blue Demon Jr. This was her fight. From start to finish, it was her fight. Yeah, and it was actually nice because we had a bit of a role reversal because then Mack was kind of the Sexy Star to Sexy Star, having her back and kind of neutralizing any elements that would prevent her from getting her comeuppance. I mean, to me, this is just a brilliantly told story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then you want to talk about imagery, because we talked about the top of the steps and everything. The blood and, like, the half-torn mask, which I brought up in live reactions, I thought that was cool because you have Mariposa, who is this malevolent force. And for anybody that's really been following Lucha Underground from the beginning, from season 1, episode 1, the story of that mask. That was her well of courage, of hope. I mean, she was on the verge of suicide. She was maltreated by men and just society and everything. And she puts on the mask and she feels empowered and she can take her dignity back, her livelihood back. So a force like Mariposa tearing that mask, and it's like I said there, it's like she was spitting upon all of the ideals that Sexy Star exalts as an athlete and, just what she lives by, but in a non, kind of corny kind of way. I felt like they played it very cool, very straight. And then when Sexy Star wins, just seeing her bloodied face and everything, looking up at the Max, almost like she's awash with relief. Yeah. Like, it's over. And then when he tells her, like, you want a medallion, it's almost like she forgot this was an Aztec medallion match. Because she takes him, she's like, it's mine, and he's like, yeah. And then they hug. Yeah. And then they hug, and it's just beautiful. Like, violent, I can see in this one instance where Cueto's coming from, because it's violent, short, it's very physical. But when you see the hero win, this is one of those times where it doesn't feel emotionally manipulative. Like, I thought it was a genuinely beautiful moment, seeing Sexy Star overcome those forces, and this was a great story. This is a story that empowers women. This is a revolution for women, or luchadoras in this case, in wrestling. You don't talk about it, you are about it, and Lucha Underground was all about it with this main event. Big ups to them. Big ups to Mariposa, who did amazing heel character work, and just big ups to Sexy Star being one hell of a performer. Great stuff.
Yeah. Man, this was such an amazing match. It's an amazing show from really from beginning to end. But this match to close the show was just an amazing crescendo. It was awesome.
Completely agree with you.
All right, let's move on, man.
With that said, let's move on to our next segment, high spots and low shots. My low shot is King Cuerno.
Yeah.
Very capable performer. Got screwed out of an Aztec medallion tonight thanks to Catrina. But, I mean, that's just it. He walked away empty-handed, by hook or by crook. A loss is a loss and a win is a win. Yeah. And King Cuerno is on the former of that tonight. So, he's my low shot.
Well, I think my low shot is going to be basically the Moth family, because both Marty and Mariposa lost matches tonight with people that they've been feuding with for a while, and more importantly, matches that had Aztec medallions on the line. So that's an unhappy family meeting when they get home.
I'll completely agree with you.
I think we have a co-high spot.
Yeah, because I was even getting ready to say, it'd be criminal if I didn't pick this person after everything I just got done saying. Sexy Star, and for me, it's not even close. She wins an Aztec medallion for one, but in the grander scheme of things, she's found herself again. She got her redemption. She took back her dignity, her strength, everything from Mariposa. And Sexy Star, affirming what she's been saying since season one. I want to be a hero for women and little girls everywhere. And Sexy went out and she did it tonight. So easily my high spot.
Yeah. That's a co-high spot. That's both of us. I love the Mack, and I love, Catrina and Siniestro de la Muerte and Cage, of course, but none of them deserve a high spot more than Sexy Star. She's just amazing, and she won a lot of people over tonight. And I gotta say, I think she even won me over a little bit more than she had me before tonight.
Yeah. And for me, I'd even say, again, for as much as I loved her in season one, she even got a little bit more fandom out of me, because I like seeing this side of Sexy Star. I like that she got her own story, and just beautiful. So, great stuff. With that said, do you have any concluding remarks about Lucha Underground this week?
Let's close it out, brother.
All right, guys, with that said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Who's getting locked in that casket next week?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'd love to know what people are thinking. I mean, do you have any contributions you want to make to what me and Ashton discussed? Do you have your own theories? Talk to us. Who is going to be locked in that casket next week? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pletov. That is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook, where, as I've said many times before, Lucha Underground fandom grows by the week over there. They know it's Amazeballs. We all know it's Amazeballs, so get at it. Also, be sure to check out the TWitWoW Facebook page. Like, share, and comment on the content there. If Facebook isn't your medium of choice, there is the TWitWoW subreddit. On the TWitWoW subreddit, you can find all of our TWitWoW content, and members of the TWitWoW subreddit can create threads of their own on all things related to pro wrestling. However, for the best possible TWitWoW experience, I would encourage everybody listening to my melodious voice, follow both of us on Twitter. I am at John_TWitWoW. That is JOHN_TWitWoW. Ashton's at APON404. That's the letter A, Pond, the body of water, POND 404. And we will see you again for our NXT review, where the Hype Bros will look to get a measure of revenge against the Revival. Here's to hoping they fail, and until then, tune in and peace out.